Hi, my name is Jarno and I'm your event tutor. My YouTube channel is all about teaching you how to plan and organize an event or festival. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel or leave a comment below. But first, enjoy this video. Right, I'm here with Christina and Christina is organizing a food market every week here in Brighton. So Christina, can you introduce yourself a little bit more and can you tell us a little bit about what you actually organise?
Sure. Hello everyone. I'm Christina and I am the co-founder and operator of a weekly street food market called Street Diner. We are probably Brighton's biggest weekly street food offering, and we run every Friday throughout the year, and in the summer when the weather's good we capitalise on the glorious but minimal sunshine that we get, and we run on Saturdays as well. It's brilliant, it's fun, it's foodie, and it's been popular, so we kind of hope and think that Brighton want it to stay. We're going into our third year now, so yeah.
Wow, already. So for 3 years you've been quite successful in what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a labour of love, don't get me wrong. It's not easy. Sometimes you're out in the pouring rain, traders don't always turn up. Most of them do, let's be honest, but sometimes, it's basically any market, certainly our market. We're a platform for these amazing micro businesses to work from, and we just obviously you're dealing with people, you're dealing with the public, you're dealing with all sorts. It's most of the time it's amazing, but of course it can go wrong. It's like any business. So yeah.
What gave you the idea to organise a food market on a weekly basis as well? So it's not a one-off. How did you come up with the idea?
I think certainly in the UK, all over the world, I mean, the street food revolution has been amazing and potent and going for years now. Brighton didn't seem to have a weekly offering. So when we launched the market down here, we felt that there was a gap in the market, no pun intended, for there to be a weekly street food market. And also the Brighton food scene is amazing. There's loads going on down here. We live in a very green belt of the country. There are loads of farmers and suppliers, and we just felt that it was something that would be great for the city and fun as well.
How easy was it for you then to, because obviously you started with the idea, you wanted to organise a food market on a weekly basis. Where do you then start? What was the first thing that you had to do?
Okay, well, I would say that your primary and the most important thing that you can do for a street market is the location. You need to be somewhere with footfall, somewhere visible, somewhere, you're looking at every aspect of where you are from a risk assessment perspective. You're looking at it from how the consumers are going to kind of filter in and out of the space. Location is everything. It really does matter. And you do want there to be footfall, 100%. It's ideal if where you are is somewhere that has that traction anyway.
So when we talk about the planning for your event, the logistics, for example, of it, where do you start?
Right, okay, well, like any new business, your brand matters. First of all, if you're going to have an event, whether it's a one-off or a weekly event, you want to find a great name, something that resonates with people, that describes your brand and your products. That's really important. Was to us anyway, rather than launching street food market, we launched Street Diner, so we gave it a name, and that was really important. I think from a logistical perspective, I've mentioned earlier, you are looking at the safety element of your event. You want to make sure that you have the right insurance for your event. That's massively important. You can't run without insurance, so you want to make sure that you're safe. And again, it's just kind of making sure that you have the right people working with you. So while we're Street Diner, we launched a new market. We wanted to work with new traders. We also worked with seasoned traders who knew what they were doing. It wasn't just like everyone stepping in for the first time and it's new for everyone. Having that experience with the traders was also vital and has been for its success. So whilst we do want to give new traders a platform, I think working with people that know what they're doing is also going to be beneficial to your event. It helps to work with people that understand how it works.
So how did you find your vendors? Obviously, you've been doing this for 3 years, so obviously they know you now. But your first one, no one knew who you were. How did you manage to find all these fantastic food vendors?
Okay, well, obviously it was we were selling something to them that had never actually happened. It was kind of like we knew it was something that would be great for Brighton, but we didn't know when we launched whether one person would turn up or 3,000 people would turn up. However, when we scoured the area, the city, and nearby sort of towns as well. We used social media. I mean, the people who rose to the surface, it wasn't hard to track them down. I mean, I think social media is an amazing space to find street food traders, Facebook, Twitter, places like that. But again, also just going to other markets, other events, and speaking to people there and then. You know, if you walk past a trader, their food looks amazing, they're smiling, they're happy. We just kind of, you know, we basically hit the ground running and just kind of went and spoke to people. And when we sort of had a foundation of 6 or 7 traders and we created our own social platforms, people started to come to us as well. So the market was a year in development. It didn't just pop up. We spent a year prior to launching it looking for the right location, speaking to the right traders, getting them on board with us, and then also with more time, I would say, than money, running an advertising campaign on social platforms and very basic, you know, putting posters around the garden where we were planning to do the launch, and a few local magazines. I mean, literally, we launched the market with not a great amount of money, but hard graft. Yeah, so it took time, but when we got there, on the first day that we launched the market, I think we had about 3,000 people turn up. So it just exploded, and it was good from day one.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, tears were shed, and no sleep and concern and worry, but you know, it was good. And obviously it was something that the local community and the wider Brighton community wanted. So it was a good thing. Know your market.
So a lot of networking and a lot of planning.
Yeah.
And it might pay off.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think you can go into it just thinking, if I open, they will come. I think that there has to be some forward thinking, some forward planning. Again, it's speaking to, for our situation, we run on private land. So we work very closely with the site owners. For some people, if you're launching, or if you're working with a council, you'd be working very closely with the council. It's about collaboration, you know, unless you own loads of land that you can run your own thing, then that's amazing. But most of the time you're renting land or you're working on council land, and you have to respect that and work with people.
You just mentioned that in your first year you put an awful lot of effort in your promotion, the marketing efforts to make sure that people knew about your event. Mm-hmm. Obviously you're doing this already for a while now. How do you promote your event nowadays? How do you use, for example, social media? Is it posters? Is it flyers? How do you use everything?
Yeah, I mean, we launched our market with zero money to spend on advertising. We had a very modest amount to kind of put into local papers, a couple of local magazines. I think without social media, you know, we would have struggled, and it continues to be a really vital platform for us. Food is very visual. We get some great shots at the market. The traders are also great showmen and women. We get some good profile shots of them. Social media is an amazing space for street foods, and it's free, but you have to be on it all the time. Again, once we had our site in place, we stuck laminated posters around the site with obviously approval from the site owners. It was very guerrilla. It was very guerrilla advertising, very basic. If we had had like tens of thousands of pounds to spend, then maybe we would have done a radio campaign or like a poster campaign sort of out and about in the city, but we didn't. We had a few £100 in our pockets. We produced some banners that we hung up on the site, and like I said, just a few posters that got torn down every time we put them up as well. So you have to kind of be able to deal with that stuff goes missing. And yeah, social media.
And would you say social media is at the moment the key driver for your marketing, or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we launched with 0 followers, and now on Twitter and Facebook, I think we've got about 13,000. So that's vital. It's our lifeline. And also when we retweet and post, and the traders do that as well, it creates this ripple effect that gets the word out to a lot of people. But again, that comes with time and effort. Like I said, we didn't have any followers. So we just kind of talked to people, talked to traders, and it grew from there.
Earlier on you mentioned insurance and potentially even licensing, I assume. So what kind of insurance does an event like yours need to have?
Well, we have public liability insurance for £10 million. And again, it's pretty accessible. All the traders that we work with, any trader that anyone works with also has to have their own public liability insurance. So we have our own as the event holders, the traders have their own as individual businesses, and we won't run without insurance.
Why is insurance so important?
Because if you get sued, it's over. So, and look, touch wood, nothing has gone wrong, but, when you're working with the general public, you have to protect them, and you also have to protect the traders. They are also your customers. You can't it's not just minimal risk all the time. That's the one advice I would give you. Don't take big risks, keep the risk minimal.
Okay, so sometimes you also organise the food market for one-off events, like, for example, a marathon or a one-day festival. What do you actually need to know from an event organiser in that case? What are the key things that are important for you?
Okay, so we're really lucky that we've worked with the Brighton Marathon, and it's been an amazing opportunity to work with such a huge event. Using that as an example, we have worked with others, but using the marathon as an example, a great example, we're looking to work with their production team. We need to work very closely with the layout spaces. We need to understand the space that we have to work in. We're looking at for them to guide us on footfall so that we can recruit accordingly. We try to get a clear understanding of the demographic, who's visiting the market, who are we catering for, so that we can put the right people in place. And then, I guess it's just kind of all hands on deck. So us working once we've recruited, with the event organisers, being there on site, marshalling with them on a basic level as well. You're looking at things like, is there going to be power? Is there going to be light? Is the place going to be stewarded? Can the traders refrigerate overnight? Can they leave their stuff there securely? So basic checklists as well that you have to look out for.
So an event planner needs to basically see the food area or the food court or whatever you want to call it in a way as a special event site with their own production plan, with their own checklist, as you say, and that's how they start the negotiations. Is that
100%? Because again, it's this kind of synergy of working with the event organisers, the production team, the traders, and ultimately the consumer. You need to kind of make sure that everything is running smoothly, that the power leads are set up in the right places, that any trip hazards aren't there. It is, it's a collaborative thing. So, and that these are the things that as a consumer you might overlook, but as an event organiser, you're looking from the ground up. Is anyone going to trip over that? Is that hooked into that? Is the light adequate in that space? Or is it going to be, if we work into the evening, how are we going to marshal the footfall in the dark? Is it well lit? And all these things. You start to think of a million things at once. Yeah.
So does that mean you need to create your own risk assessment within the food area, or?
I think that before we work with another event, we will always risk assess. Whether we are taking 10 traders or 5 traders, we will always risk assess. And that means not just a risk assessment from a public perspective on things like trip hazards or access points, but we also have to work with fire marshals, make sure that people have their fire extinguishers, for example, and then there's the food hygiene element of it. So it's multi-layered risk assessment. It's it's kind of quite a complex thing. It takes time, but then once it runs and there are thousands of people there having a good time, it's worth it.
What are obviously there's a lot of positive things about organising events, but what are the struggles for you to to pull it off every week, but also to, for example, when you're working at the different events, what are the things that you run into that you think, every time, why does that not change?
Well, folks, hi, we work in England, so rain, Mother Nature is our, we're at the mercy of the weather forecast pretty much. I would say from a street food trader, rain is rubbish. Wind is our greatest fear, because when it's super, super windy, you have to shut, we try not to shut the market down. In fact, we very rarely had to. But in certain amounts, if it's super, super windy, it's super, super dangerous. So, yeah, I would say the struggle is real as far as the weather is concerned in this country. I would say there's also the crowd marshalling. If something does go wrong, if people are inebriated, for example, or you notice that something is happening in the space that you're in that shouldn't be, you have to be really conservative in the way that you deal with it. So again, it's that collaboration with stewards and security. So these are the kind of things that you have to be mindful of. And these are the struggles. When there are a lot of people in a small space, you've got to keep your eye on what's going on. So weather and people.
Does that mean, you just mentioned security, but does that mean, for example, on your weekly, the street diner, do you always have to have security there? And is that part of the licensing agreement, or is that just something that you think is necessary anyway?
I would say working with security when you are operating something with an expected large number of visitors is a must. Certainly, there are certain clauses in your insurance that are affected by that if you don't have security. We're very lucky that the site that we work on, they have a relationship with a security firm, so we have access to security if we need it. Most of the time, you don't, but you have to know that you have it, because when you do need it, you need it. So yeah. And it's certainly something that insurers are looking at as well, especially for you 5,000, 10,000 people. It would be foolish to not have some sense of security there.
So you worked with event organisers who ask you to come to your event site. What advice can you give to them that they need to ask you?
Okay. The expectation from food is always massive. From my own personal experience, our own personal experience of running street diner, I think the expectation of profitability from food is always super, super, super high. You can drive people to an event, but you can't always make them eat when they get to that event. Or, for example, unless you're prepared to rifle through people's bags as they're coming in and out of your event, you also can't stop people from bringing food in. So from our perspective, I think having an honest expectation, if the infrastructure for your event is 20 grand, it's a lot to expect the food to kind of pay for half of it. It's about being realistic, I think. We've found certainly that there have been occasions where the expectation for food, it doesn't, they kind of expect more money from it, and we haven't always been able to deliver on that. Not because we haven't thought it would be busy or that there would be a lot of people there, but as I said, once people are in an event, you can't force them to eat. It's not always going to happen. So I think from an event organiser's perspective, it's about having some flexibility with your traders and certainly the food operations. Some events, they might work on a percentage base, some have a flat fee. I think it's just about having some flexibility. No one wants to fall out. No, everyone wants to keep it transparent, and you just can't predict what the consumer's going to do, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd be a multimillionaire-ess by now.
What advice would you give any future event planner? So someone who's watching this and thinks, you know what, I'm going to organise my own food market. What advice can you give them?
Just be prepared to put a lot of time into it. Be prepared to manage people, and from that I mean the traders are just as important as the consumers. Be prepared to answer tweets and Facebook posts all day, every day. Social media is your friend. Obviously, you have to take the good and the bad with that, so you're live to it all the time. and just kind of like just have fun and work with good people and just enjoy it. Try not to eat everything though, otherwise you put on loads of weight.
According to you, what are the key characteristics of a good event planner?
I think you have to look at it as a 360-degree thing. So you have to look at it from the perspective of the trader. You have to look at it from the perspective of the site owners and the event itself. You have to look at it from the perspective of the consumer. You can't, and it's teamwork, working with lots of people that can kind of, that have visions and expertise in different areas. I think a great event trader can harness expertise from a good team, and I think that really, really, really matters. Have fun, be honest, be transparent with what you do. Work with councils, with major events, collaborate, just have an open door policy and have fun. It's brilliant. When loads of people are at your event and everyone's having a good time, it's an amazing feeling.
So to organise a good, proper event, it starts with a lot of planning, a lot of networking, a lot of hard work, a lot of collaborating with the right parties to make sure that it all happens. Is that roughly,
in a nutshell? You can't do it alone. There's no I in team. It's about doing it with. It's collaborate. It's getting the best talent for the best bits of your event and just kind of working with a good team. It's impossible to do it on your own, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for this interview, Christina. Really appreciate it.
Good luck. You're welcome.
Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Jarno, your event tutor. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and do check out my other videos. See you next time.